G'day, guys. Welcome back to Statchat Sports. You're here with Steve and Tazza. It's the weekly football podcast. Good week of football this week, Tazza, but I think we need to address the elephant in the room. And that we saw the news, or sort of it came to us, it broke to us quite literally as we ended last week's recording, and that is, of course, everyone's heard it. I'm sure anyway. But that's the allegations, or the proposed cheating scandal, if you want to call it that, of Man City and their breaches of the Premier League's financial fair play ruling. It's all still a bit up in the air at the moment. I've read something earlier today, actually, or was it yesterday, that the FA have had to come out and basically almost remove a few of those. I think it was like 110 charges or something like that, because of certain rules that changed in certain years or something like that. So there's already, ongoing investigations and changes happening to the proposed allegations anyway. But it's a serious matter nonetheless, because nobody really knows what the potential punishment could be. There's point deductions, there's suspensions from the league, and fines and all this sort of stuff, but nonetheless it's pretty serious.
Yeah, this is going to bubble on for a while. I think we're not going to see a resolution anytime soon, and there's so many charges. We've already seen, there's that many charges and there's that many changes being made, that how are they going to make a definitive call on this anytime soon? And what do we've got? I think we've got about roughly 16 to 18 games, depending on which team you follow. Games left in the PL this season. So I would hazard a guess and say we're probably not going to see a solution to this before this title race is won and done. I think this may bubble on probably into next season, and there'll be retrospective repercussions to this, because I just can't see a resolution happening anytime soon. There's way too much here that they have to go through. 100 and something charges. They all need to be fact checked. They need to be watertight, essentially. If you're gonna penalise a club with the stature of City for these kind of charges, this needs to be 100% legit, completely watertight. So the charges are damning. They are. How any club can rack up this many just screams that there's clearly something going on here. It's not two cases, it's not three cases, we're just isolated incidents, and that's the worst thing about it. City have done pretty well, and other teams have done pretty well at dodging real proper punishment from financial fair play. It seems to have been a little bit of a I don't know. It hasn't really done its job. I don't think. In certain, I don't think the punishments have met the crimes with what some teams have done. So this case here needs to be heard properly and fully, and we need to get it to a conclusion, which, for me, isn't going to come quickly.
Yeah, and this is on the back of I think it was about a 4-year investigation that these have pretty much all been found over the last 4 years. This is what they've found, sort of thing, and it spans back, I think it's 9 years, over the course of 9 years, which, if you look at it, is their glory period, pretty much. It goes back to I think it's a 12-13 season, obviously up until now, pretty much. So it's pretty full on, and then they want to make sure that they get everything spot on. Like, even if all 110 charges don't end up sort of coming, being true or anything like that, if you're getting stung with 110 charges, you'd think there's at least half, if not more than half, there that are true, and the punishment needs to fit the crime. We obviously saw what happened to Juve a few weeks ago, which is kind of in a similar situation.
It seems very minor compared to what City's being accused of.
100%.
If Juve get a 15-point deduction. If half of this turns out to be true, it's got to be far worse than a 15-point deduction.
So what is an appropriate punishment then? We all know it needs to be more than a fine, because throw them any sort of figure at a fine and they'll just pay it. It's fine. It is what it is for them. Point deduction seems the most logical thing. Kicking them out the league, I don't know. I know a lot of people are calling for it. I don't know if you can. One, I don't know if it's quite warranted, and two, I can't see the FA doing that. Especially because if you look at like the revenue and stuff like that a club like City brings to the league, you're gonna throw out, and that, you know, that might be something that the club never recovers from. And yeah, you can look at it and say, well, you know, it's that's their own fault. They put him in that position. And yeah, you might be right. It is a bigger picture, and money talks. So,
yeah,
you know,
it's kind of tough. If they were to do it, it's kind of like cutting off your nose to spite your face, isn't it? Really? I mean, it's not. It hurts the PL as a whole to relegate them even down to the championship. Yeah, they'll probably bounce straight back, but it'll hurt them. There'll be a flow-on effect from there. They'll lose players. They won't be as competitive as they once were. They're not going to be in the upper echelon of the PL, because I highly doubt Kevin De Bruyne is going to hang around for a season in the championship. I highly doubt Erling Haaland's hanging around for a season in the championship.
Pep Guardiola won't be there.
Oh, absolutely, he won't be there.
Especially because he said in an interview, I don't know exactly when this interview was, but I know it was a while ago, when a reporter in an interview sort of questioned the club and sort of in terms of like financially, you know, playing fairly and stuff like that. And he basically replied with, I believe it until it's true. I'm on their side all the way. So if it then comes out and they were lying to him, he'll walk in an instant. He's basically already said that. So you lose him. You ain't keeping anyone in that side. That's for damn sure. So you start a pretty serious spiral, which might not end in just the championship. You could be looking at lower than that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what it happened to Juve. They got relegated, and there were a handful of players that stuck around and sort of helped them back up. I mean, I could see that they're still going to come straight back up. I mean, that there's no ifs or buts about that. I think there's enough players that will hang around there to at least get them back up. If this does happen, this is a very big if. I mean, and it's quite unlikely in my eyes. I think that punishment fits the crime. I think that would be proper. I just don't see it happening. I mean, City have always dodged it. Well, like I said before, I don't think any punishment has really fit the crime for these financial fair play issues. So I don't expect it to change. I think a fine and probably a points deduction is the most likely outcome.
But if you look at it, give them a point deduction, be it 15, whatever, however many more points. What's the gap now? It's almost it's 15. If you give them a 15 odd point gap, you know what I mean? Point deduction, sorry. You know, it puts them pretty much mid-table, but you know, they could easily work their way back up into the top four in that by the end of the season. And then you can look at it and, you know, think, well, for something that they did over a 9-year period, which heavily impacted the Premier League in that time, you know, they'll take one season where they'll just go, oh, well, whatever it is, what it is, we'll take the punishment on the chin, throw the season in the bin, and then just go again next year. And it's as if nothing ever happened. So yeah, that's why it's really in a tough position, because, you know, just a few points deducted here and there is probably not going to be fitting. And it's not, I don't think that a lot of people are going to be overly happy with it, but it's tough. They've really got to get it right, because they're losing a big club otherwise.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, looking at those charges, it taints a lot of the last 9 years to which the charges date back. So you look at those titles. I mean, I've seen there was a hypothetical if City's titles were rescinded and given to the second place teams. I mean, they're basically equally shared amongst Liverpool and United.
Yeah.
So, I mean, wouldn't those supporters love to take those? I mean, it's not how you want to win them, but I mean, if it's going to happen, you're not going to say no.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, that's why I think the punishment needs to be severe. I mean, this is imagine the revenue and and everything else that comes with it. If Liverpool and United, I mean, imagine where United would be if they were actually winning titles in the last few years. They wouldn't have had the merry-go-round of managers that they've had lately. I mean, Ten Hag's different, and they're on the way back up. But we probably wouldn't have seen Ole. We wouldn't have seen any of Louis van Gaal, all of that. It would have been different. And I mean, you'd be looking at you'd look at Brendan Rodgers in a completely different light.
Yeah.
He would be a success story and not an almost kind of story. And that's why I think it needs to be severe. If they are proven, it needs to come down hard, because they've just thrown the game into disrepute for almost a decade, and just the flow-on effects from that. For at least, I mean, I'm not even looking at the other 20 teams in the league or the other 30 teams that have been in the PL in that time.
Yeah.
That's a small sample case of 2 teams. You look at anyone else there, Chelsea, all the top teams would be super affected by it. So it's completely changed the course of the PL for the last 10 years.
So let's say they just receive a points deduction for this season. Obviously, that has big parts to play in the title race, which at this point in time is well and truly back on, given the fact that Arsenal dropped points again at Brentford, 1 point from their last 2 games, while City winning at the weekend brings them within 3. And that's their next opponent. City Arsenal is the next one. If City win it, suddenly they're on top on goal difference. But obviously, a potential points deduction can sort of get rid of that in an instant. But given no points deduction, this race is well and truly back on.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, if there is the points deduction, I think it throws United into the chase as well.
Yeah,
they're in the thick of it.
Off.
Yeah, and they're playing pretty decent football. I mean, it's not world beating, but they're getting it done fairly well at the moment. They're definitely putting something together. Whether they're title candidates, well, they're absolutely not favourites. Let's put that to bed. But they're hanging around. They're somewhere. They're in the hunt, and a good back end to the season would get go some way to putting them at the top spot. But yeah, I mean, it's Arsenal's to lose with a point deduction. Absolutely. I mean, they would be. I mean, they've got 2 games in hand on United as it stands, and they're already 5 points ahead. So,
and yeah, Arsenal haven't been twice already.
Yeah, and they haven't been super convincing. Arsenal. That's probably. I mean, right now they'd be begging for a resolution to this and a points deduction, because City they're charging. They are. They're breathing down Arsenal's neck. Like I said, United are there. Would take a bit of a push to obviously get there, but Arsenal don't look like the team that we've seen for the first half of the PL. They've just in the last few weeks they've really they're getting results, but not in the last 2. They've coming off a loss and a draw. But it's not the Arsenal that we're used to this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, they came across obviously a bit of a resurgence in really resilient Everton last week, which was always going to be a tough game, given Dyche's first game in charge, and the way that we all know that he likes to set up his teams. But typically, you would still sort of see Arsenal maybe walk away with a result there, be it just a scrappy little 1-0 win, or if they have to take points, a 0-0 draw if they can't break them down, manage to hold a clean sheet, and then I mean, Brentford's been a thorn in every top six or big six side this year. They've taken points off of all of them, be it with wins or draws. So that one doesn't really surprise me. But I mean, given the fact that Arsenal were in the league, you thought that they might have been able to see it out. But yeah, I agree. I mean, City are licking their lips because at this point in time, there's probably no better time for them to be playing Arsenal, given the current way that they're playing. And I mean, a few weeks ago when we spoke about them, we said at the halfway point when they played everyone, besides City, and I think Everton, we just said all they got to do is just beat the same teams that they've played, and get a result against City in either one or both games, and they'll win the league. And so far, they haven't really done that. I mean, they beat United, which was their only loss before Everton. They beat Tottenham, who they beat before. They're the only two sides, besides obviously Brentford now, that they've played again. And they dropped points there, and dropping points against Everton is not something that would have been on the agenda for them. So yeah, it's wide open. And if nothing happens this season, we could see City potentially win another Premier League off the back of what's happened. So it's something that needs to be resolved this year.
Yeah, it definitely does. Because if they do win this league this year, there's going to be some serious questions, and there's going to be calls for a resolution to this, like quick, smart, because they really can't. The Premier League can't afford to have this hanging over their head, and then go and award them the trophy for this year.
Yeah,
that's
a bad look.
If another team wins, it's almost. Oh, you'd have to think the PL will breathe a sigh of relief, because they cannot afford for City to win this year. It just, there's too much bad PR. There's too much. There's too many questions. There's absolutely too many questions about the legitimacy and just, have they done the right thing here? So yeah, I for one really want to see an Arsenal. Yeah, definitely not a United win, but an Arsenal win at this point. On the topic of United, just going back there, this week we saw David De Gea play his 400th PL match, which struck me as, I mean, I didn't know it was anywhere near that. Obviously, he'd been around for a long time. Has been around. It's not has. 400 PL matches. It started in 2011, I think, with United. So it's going back 12 years now. So it was 32 now. It was 20 when he started. Where does he rank for you in terms of, say, going back the last, we'll say 20 years or so? Where does he rank for you in the top Premier League keepers? Is he in your top 5? Because I mean, his longevity, I think, has got to count for something. He's been through some pretty barren patches, but he's also been on his game. He's definitely been a highlight for him over the last decade.
So it begs the question again in terms of ranking players and stuff like that. The trophy count. Just off the top of my head, I'm just trying to have a quick look here. I don't know how many leagues he's won with United.
I think it's only one. It's only one. He's only won one.
Okay, so he's got one Premier League.
One English champion. There's UEFA Super Cup. He won the Europa League twice, but I think one of them will be with Atletico. Was that Atletico? Is that where he was?
Yeah, he was at Atletico.
Yeah, the FA Cup and the Carling, the League Cup.
Okay, so in terms of, so really one Super Cup and a Premier League in his 12 years. They've not been the best of times in those 12 years for sure. I mean, he's
probably been that one constant.
Yeah, he's definitely been. He's definitely a good keeper, and probably, I don't know, what are we saying here? Maybe 6 years ago, maybe somewhere around there. He was probably up there for one of the one of the best players or one of the best keepers in the league, I'd say. But he has had a pretty severe decline at times as well.
Yeah.
You know, at times where he's been the forefront of some pretty heavy criticism. And to be fair, at the time, rightly so, but he has always bounced back and he has always come back to that sort of consistent level. I don't really think you could put him in the top 5 of goalkeepers looking back over 20 years, if that's what we're looking at.
10's probably a better metric. If you're trying to fit him in there, you might fit him in the last 10.
Yeah, possibly, because you've got to look at like
you go too far back.
You go too far back, you're starting to go into different eras of the Premier League, I suppose. Petr Cech, who retired recently, he's 100% in there. Edison's won numerous Premier Leagues with City. Even Alisson, not just for the trophies that he's won, but for the importance and significance. And he has just been one of the best goalkeepers in the league for the past
one-on-one. He's just been unreal. Yeah,
absolutely. So I don't think I think he deserves to be in the discussion, but I think most people might be able to find 5 other players that they would put in their top 5 over that period. But I didn't even realize 400 games is a lot of games, and I didn't. Wouldn't have thought that he'd be that close, because he would have taken over from he would have replaced Van der Sar.
Yeah,
who is one of United's, if not United's, best ever goalkeeper. So he had big shoes to fill, and I think he started off pretty shaky from memory. He had a pretty rough start to his career, but then like I said, around that probably what would have been probably 2015 to like 2019, somewhere around there, he was unreal. He's got ridiculous reflexes, and he can make a save that is almost a certain
out of nowhere
that other keepers wouldn't reach. So, he definitely deserves to be, one of United's, top, leading caps for the club because of that longevity and that consistency. But, if we're talking best, not for me.
Yeah, no, it probably, if I chop that down 10 years, I think you might be able to fit him in. Obviously, because when I thought about this, I'll wait straight to Petr Cech. That was kind of my number one.
Yeah,
Edison, Alisson, they hang around there. Hugo Lloris, where do you put him? He never done anything at club level.
Again, longevity.
Obviously, he's got the longevity. Same there as well. And I mean, De Gea doesn't even get in the discussion in terms of the world football, but in the PL was kind of where I was thinking maybe he could sneak in, because his best was pretty unreal. I remember being in awe of him. Definitely in those years, it was kind of he was the only thing that stopped United really bottoming out. He was a shining light in some of those pretty bad years for United, and 100%. So that's probably where I tend to rate him. If he was in a good team playing like that, geez, I mean, we'd probably be talking about him in a different light. He probably would have won a few more trophies than the handful he's got. And for a player of his, he does have a certain stature in the league as being a bit of a based on his longevity. So, I mean, the 6 trophies that he's got in 12 years, probably you'd want to be seeing a little bit more from a guy like that to really to put a player like that in the top 5 in the last 20 years or 15, 10 years. So, but yeah, 400 league caps is a pretty insane return, I think, and definitely United have definitely got their value with him.
Just putting his quality into perspective, 17-18 he had the Golden Glove, and he was part of the PFA Team of the Year in 12-13, 14-15, 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18. So there was a 4-year period there where 4 years in a row he's making PFA Player of the Year, and obviously we know United's trophy history in that time. So to go 4 years in a row, no domestic, or they might have won FA Cups and something all there, but this is PFA, so I think this is just based off of Premier League. Without a Premier League title in that time, 4 years in a row, best goalkeeper is, that's good. That is good. That's definitely his prime 4 or 5 years right there, and then it started to go a little bit downhill. But to be fair, United have stuck him out, and they haven't tried to replace him. They've considered younger options, and they've always found themselves going back to De Gea. So he must be doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Tazza, it's that time of the year after the halfway mark of the season. It's what I'm going to call sack season, when managers chop and change. Clubs decide that look, you've done a shit job in the first half of the year, so we're going to look elsewhere. As Southampton decided to sack their new manager only recently, the ex-Luton manager Nathan Jones, who's only in the job for 3 months. He came in just before the World Cup break, and they've had enough already and have decided to move him on, which, I mean, I feel like I say this every time a club sacks a manager, or, a club is looking for a new manager. That's just not long enough. I mean, I understand the position that they're in. They're bottom. They're rock bottom at the moment. They're sitting rock bottom, 3 points off. So I can understand the position that they're in. But I mean, what the hell do you expect from a club in that sort of position at the moment? What do you expect someone to do in 3 months? I mean,
definitely. Yeah, nowhere near long enough. That's just ridiculous. I don't know how you're expecting to get anyone. If you're bringing a new philosophy or a change of tactic or something, you're barely going to see it. Well, a proper change in anything less than probably a couple of months. So, I mean, yeah, look, the results weren't great, and their only win in the last 5 comes against fellow relegation candidates Everton. But I don't think you need to be making that call at this point of the season. There's enough games to. I mean, he deserved at least another month, I think. When this isn't panic stations right now, I think they could still pull themselves out. He definitely deserves more of a chance.
Yeah, and look, I mean, what are we looking at here for the last 4? I mean, they 2-1 against Wolves, who up until a few weeks ago were fellow candidates to go down. Brentford probably not expected a result there. Aston Villa, they beat Everton, who are average anyway. But and then 1-0 to Southampton to Nottingham. It's not crisis mode. They're not getting smashed every week. They're kind of in and around it, but they're just missing something. It's difficult to turn anything around in that short period of time. So yeah, I'm surprised it happened. But also last week as well, which we didn't talk about, Leeds sacked Jesse Marsch as well, which came to me as a bit of a surprise, even though, again, their form not looking great at the moment. Their last win came on the 5th of November. Since then, 3 draws and 5 losses. That doesn't look great for them, but it's a guy who looked like he was getting a pretty good amount out of his players. And yeah, that one kind of shocked me a little bit. They've just, for now, they've got a caretaker manager in at the moment. But it looks like that Southampton are pursuing Jesse Marsch now to take their job. So for him, from one relegation candidate to the next, he managed to save Leeds last year. So maybe that's what Southampton are looking at for this year to potentially get them out in the mud. But yeah, it's a bit of a roller coaster. But would Jesse Marsch the right guy for the job, or?
Yeah, I was very surprised about the Leeds sacking Jesse Marsch there. I remember probably a few days ago before that sack, a few days before the sacking, I saw a video of a press conference of him at Leeds, and he was commenting about how he loves the club. He wants to hang around for a long time. We've got a lot of like-minded people at the club, and feel like we're doing something good. And then they sack him. I don't know. Maybe it was like a play. Maybe it was pleading with the hierarchy at Leeds to give him another chance, and he sensed something coming. But I just felt like they were on the same page, and like you, I thought he was doing something right. Yeah, I mean Leeds they weren't decimated, but they lost big key pieces to that team in the off season, and really haven't replicated anything close to what they were able to do at times with those pieces in Rafinha and Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
So it's a bit hard. They have reinvested, probably not in the right way that they should have, or in the right players. But he definitely should have been given a go. And yeah, I mean, if Southampton can get him, I think that's a good pickup. I mean, he's already dragged a team out of relegation, so see if he can do it again. And I think he's got what it takes.
Okay, Tazza, it's that time of the episode where we like to wrap things up with the little game of Who's That? It's your turn to guess today. So when you're ready, kick us off with your first guess.
All right. I've got my guess. I'm not sure. It's not really going to nail much down for me in terms of an age because he's quite young. We'll start with Pedri.
Okay, Pedri, you've got you've got nothing there. And this player is older than Pedri, older than 20.
Yeah. Okay. So that's most people.
That's most people.
I just want to nail the league. That's a big one, I reckon. Nailing that off the bat. I'll go with the Premier League. I'll go there. Let's go. What have we got? Let's go. James Maddison.
Mads, you've gone for another.
Oh no!
Ben, you've gone for another midfielder.
Shippers.
I
don't even know why I did that. I was going to say like Vardy or something. I should have done
that. You've hit nothing again. He's younger than 26, however.
Okay, so between 20 and 26. Still don't know what league he's in. And he's not a midfielder. God. That was a stupid guess. Okay, let's go to Bundesliga. Surely you're not going to take me back to the Serie A again. You're probably going. You're probably going. Look, I'll go Bundesliga. Let's go. Let's go Alphonso Davies.
Yeah, I've got one right, and he's a defender. But he's older than 22.
And that's 22 and 26, defender, and not. Oh my god, I still don't have the league.
Haven't hit his nation either.
I feel I think I might be onto it.
Okay, this is your fourth guess. I think so. You're one off.
Yeah, I think I'm
better
getting
off
close.
than last week.
A young defender, and I'm going to say that they in the French Ligue 1, Ligue 1. Ligue 1. Is it Hakimi?
It's not. It's not Ashraf Hakimi.
God damn it!
But you have got the right club, and he's younger than Hakimi.
Okay, so he's between 22, 20. I've got the right club. You said
you've got the right club. You've hit PS. Oh, obviously you've got the league as well.
Yeah.
So you should have his age there because there's only one number between 22 and 24.
Yeah, but I know. There's only one player. It can be. It's Gianluigi Donnarumma. Donnarumma. Yes,
correct. Gets it in 5.
I was thinking, I can't find anyone. Age of 23. There's something wrong. I was like, we can do goalkeepers, can't we? Yeah. That's good.
Well done. We haven't improved off of of that previous coach. Yeah, we'll get there, but we'll get there. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Let us know in the comments below if you've got Donnarumma before Tazza. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. If you like the content, leave a like and share with friends. And we'll see you all next week. Cheers.